Thank you for tuning into the Only You podcast. This is your host, Lo Jackson, where I always do book reviews based on self-help, psychological, behavioral, and personality types. I like to do books that I feel may help someone by empowering them or enabling them to become a better person, a more well-rounded individual. And today, I want to be going over a book with you called The Heart of the Fight, a couple's guide to 15 common fights, what they really mean, how they can bring you closer, by Judith Wright and Bob Wright. Bob Wright is founder and president of Restore Me Now Ministries. He has served as pastor, evangelicalist, and mission worker for over 37 years, traveling extensively both and home and abroad while preaching and teaching the gospel. Well, thank you, Bob, for that. Everybody needs the Lord in their life. And his wife, Judith Wright, was born on May 31st, 1915, and she passed away on June 25th of the year 2000. She was an Australian poet, environmentalist, and campaigner for Aboriginal land rights. She was a recipient of the Christopher Brennan Award, which the Christopher Brennan Award, or formerly known as the Robert Frost Prize, is an Australian award given for lifetime achievement in poetry. The award was established in 1973, takes the form of a bronze plaque, which is presented to a poet who produces work of sustained quality and distinction. And today we're going to go over The Heart of the Fight. And this was a really good read. I give it a 4.5-star review. Great relationships require great fights. The results are worth it. Do you want maximal warmth and affection? The price is being real. Does profound partnership appeal to you? Then learn to express your deepest truths. Interested in intimacy? Then intend to be satisfied. In short, do you want a great relationship as best friends and lovers? Then be prepared for great fights. Unfortunately, most people, including many professionals, don't know how to fight, or don't fight enough, or at all. They tend to teach conflict resolution rather than conflict completion. Contrary to conventional wisdom, conflict can be a couple's secret weapon for coming closer, not a sign they're coming apart, at least when couples know why they fight, how to fight, and what to fight for. These battles can be used to develop us and help us reach high levels of intimacy and trust based on an ever-deepening love. This requires full engagement, including conflict, confrontation, and verbal combat. It also requires following certain rules of engagement that you'll learn about throughout the book. Most people bicker and battle without knowing the rules of engagement that will help them really see what is going on inside themselves. They just want the fight to be over, or to win the fight, or to make it go away. Most relationship books and much marital and relationship advice are designed to limit conflict, full of misguided attempts to restore the lovey-dovey honeymoon phase. They attempt to avoid fights and, at best, to develop teamwork rather than embrace the opportunity for learning and growth in the fights. The 15 fights that make or break your relationship. To understand the right way to fight, think about fight types. By categorizing relationship battles, we can help put you in the middle of a recognizable conflict. You'll resonate immediately with certain fight types that characterize your relationship, and you'll be able to analyze your fight style and substance within these familiar categories. What follows is a quick overview of the fights. We picked the most frequent types we encounter to illustrate the opportunity to develop the skills you will be learning and to show you how they work in your conflicts and your relationships. You will find these relationship fight types sprinkled throughout the book. It is not the topic of the disagreement that matters. It's what the fight means to the two of you and what you can learn from it. While couples often argue about the same surface issues, the underlying issues are personal to the two of you, and it's the underlying issues that need to be dealt with, not the surface topic. Take a look at these 15 fight types and think about how they unfold within your relationship. 1. The blame game. And we all know somebody out there. Do any of you know anybody in your interpersonal relationships that plays the blame game? I want to say that we all know somebody that plays the blame game. I used to play the blame game until I really realized that everybody plays this game, and it just gets old. And the older you get, the more you get tired of playing this game. And I believe that completely. Here the fight is over who is at fault for a lousy vacation, a crummy restaurant choice, an obnoxious visitor overstaying her welcome, or the argument itself. There's a big difference between scapegoating and figuring out why something went wrong. The former is a vindictive activity, while the latter is a learning exercise. Getting caught in the blame game often results in endless loops of dissatisfaction with no real change. Instead of assigning blame in your arguments, figure out what you're so set up about, what went wrong, and how to change it now and in the future. As you look underneath, you'll discover why it is that you are so concerned about affixing blame. Then you can focus instead on what it will take for you to be satisfied. 2. Up and down toilet seats and other domestic disputes. Petty squabbles such as disagreements about chores, toilet seats, and neglected and unappreciated cinderfellers cover a range of domestic disputes. It's Cinderella. It's Cinder with an F in parentheses and then Ellas. So Cinderfellas cover a range of domestic disputes from who's washing the dishes, picking up the kids, making dinner, and doing the laundry to arguing over how chores should be done. You guys, thank you so much for listening to the Only You podcast. Follow me. Thank you for sharing me. And back to the heart of the fight, a couple's guide to 15 common fights, what they really mean, how they can bring you closer. If you bicker without resolution or one of you gives in to end the fight, nothing is learned. Rather than drag the relationship down, these domestic duels can be opportunities for relationship growth. This skirmish serves a purpose, helping to resolve or at least expose issues that would otherwise eat away at the fabric of the relationship. 3. Dueling over dollars. Financial feuds, whether about making money, spending it, using it the way you want, managing it or not, are volatile topics for many couples. These fights range from "Are you crazy? We can't afford that" to "You're such a tightwad," or if may begin innocently enough with one person saying out of concern, "Why don't you ask for a raise?" But concern can easily lead into anger when the response to the question fails to satisfy. You're just not motivated to get ahead and make something of yourself. Money, lack of it, making more of it, how it's spent or managed may be a valid concern. However, money is only the surface subject of the argument. Money is powerfully symbolic of many diverse things depending on the individual. These fights often mask issues of self-worth, values, or a sense of security. They can stem from a desire to be appreciated, other unmet desires such as keeping up with the Joneses, or hunger for social affirmation. We all want to be loved, and we easily make the mistake of equating enough money with enough love. Evolutionary biology and neuroscience also show us that having enough resources is linked with survival in our primitive brains. So any threat of money scarcity can trigger our often irrational primitive fear and feisty fights. 4. The hidden middle finger. You walk away, seething, silent, and resentful. Now it's time for the silent treatment. That ought to show him, is the message you're sending. God, I hate the silent treatment. Don't you guys? Is there anybody else out there who agrees with me? The silent treatment is the worst in fighting. It really is. But it rarely gets through. Nothing is resolved, and the relationship never deepens. Relationship fights can be deadly. Relationship fights can be deadly quiet. You could say, screw you, without raising your voice or even saying a word. In fact, hidden middle finger fights often involve silence. You can simply pretend the disagreement isn't there. In fact, other exchanges can seem placid or even friendly on the surface. Beneath it, however, passive-aggressive behavior is eroding the relationship. Getting the discussion to the point where actual upset and anger are expressed and the hidden middle finger is out in the open is critical. Some couples simply don't have much social emotional intelligence. By developing their ability to express their feelings beyond their middle finger and interact more truthfully with each other, they grow in understanding, intimacy, and satisfaction. 5. Sexual dissatisfaction. These arguments range from "you never are in the mood" to "you're always in the mood," or "you're just going through the motions," or "you don't find me attractive anymore." And I think many of us have heard one of those statements at some point in some relationship somewhere in our lives. These fights are about more than sexual intimacy. They can be mined for valuable information about how to have better intercourse in all ways, making the relationship as well as the sex better. Looking at the host of issues beneath the intercourse will help avoid destructive arguing that can profoundly undermine the self-confidence of both parties. Our research reveals that our adult sexual needs are often secondary to unmet developmental needs. While the power of the adult sex can play a significant role in our development, we often have much younger pre-sexual needs to be affirmed, seen, known, and cared about. Getting to the submerged yearnings of each person deepens the level of intimacy and takes the conversation beyond the number of times you do it weekly, which tends to go up when couples argue productively together without necessarily focusing on it or keeping score. 6. If you really love me, and we've all heard that one too. If you really love me, you'd quit smoking, come home sooner, know what to buy me without me telling you, stop watching so much TV, spend less time with your computer or your phone or games, refrain from buying so many shoes, dress better. There are infinite variations on this relationship fight. If you really love me, you'd take my side when your mother criticizes me. Or if you really love me, you wouldn't speak that way to me. Rather than getting sidetracked on the false premise that people in love should mind read and provide unconditional obedience to wishes, the conversation should focus on understanding why you or your partner play the "if you really love me" card. Great insight reside in these arguments about what love really means to each of you and what the responsibilities of love are. You each may have a different view, but facing these different perspectives square on can help you grapple with a major emotional roadblock and evaluate the relationship. 7. I can't stand your constant harping. Why do you have to treat the waitress that way? We are not in the backwoods here. Smacking your lips like that is so rude. Hey, I want to tell you guys this, actually. That statement right there, smacking your lips, is so rude. In reality, that is a type of phobia. People that have problems with other people eating with their mouth open, in reality, the person that gets upset about somebody chewing with their mouth open, the problem is them. It's not the person next to you chewing with their mouth open, it's actually you. And once I started realizing that I had a problem with people slopping their gums at the dinner table, I started changing. I started becoming less annoyed by people chewing with their mouth open when I realized I was the actual starter of that problem. Simple everyday habits bug you or even make your skin crawl. Things that were endearing in the past start grating on your nerves. If he does that one more time, I'll scream. Or every time she uses that tone of voice, it's like fingernails on a blackboard. Almost anything can become irritating or begin to annoy or aggravate you. Look beneath these you bug me type fights and you'll start to find a lot of unexpressed upsets that have been swept under the carpet and now you're tripping on it. A loud laugh, the sound of cracking knuckles, a certain facial expression, or a once endearing nervous tick is now sending you through the roof. Something is bugging you, but it's not what you think. You need to recognize the deeper issues so you can move the relationship forward. 8. You love more than me. You love your iPhone, sports, shopping, Facebook, work, the kids more than me is the theme of these battles. It may come out as a direct accusation or indirectly as a nagging or punitive attack. Put down your stupid phone for God's sake. A simmering laminate. I think the phone thing is huge in every relationship now. I went into a relationship where I never really even thought about my phone. I used my phone as a communication tool, not an entertainment device at that time. So in reality, I got with a person that they were with somebody else that always told them and put emphasis on them always being on their phone or in front of the TV. But it became apparent when I came into the relationship and then that person started always harping on me about being on my phone. But in reality, somebody had done it to them and they were really on their phone all the time. So then they just drug it into their new relationship and it just, needless to say, we're moving on now. You're never around when I need you. But no matter how it emerges, it is often a payback or punishment directed against the one who loves something more. And rather than driving the couple to more closeness, these responses tend to drive couples further apart. These you love more than me fights have the right idea but the wrong expression. It's healthy for couples to argue about why one is avoiding the other, either physically or emotionally, whether the avoidance or absence are from indulging in soft addictions like over shopping or binge television watching, avoiding each other because of discomfort with intimacy or masturbating too much, staying away for fear of conflict, or trying to numb some upset rather than face it. Getting to the bottom of the fight can prove fodder for deeply satisfying lives and deeper, more intimate relationships. 9. Family feuds. I was apparently on Oprah when the legendary wise television personality threw up her hands, shook her head, and during a break asked me to appear on the show earlier than planned because her guests were behaving so badly. The show was about contentious battling in-laws. And Oprah said, "You handle them." Family feuds happen in numerous ways, including fights about your in-laws, irritating behaviors, your mother drives me crazy, interference, if your father butts in one more time, and failure to deal with your parents as they treat your partner badly. Your mother treats me like crap, and you don't do anything about it. Family feuds are tricky. Allegiances become confused, and battle lines get drawn. Sorting through these battles to the issues underneath can be some of the most enlightening and productive fights you can have. Properly handled, they force you to grow up and become your own person, capable of developing allegiance, bonds, and love with each other. Philosophers and psychologists refer to this as individuating, becoming your own person. Told you so. 10 is told you so. These disagreements often follow a pattern. Sarcasm comes with the I told you so territory, and it leads nowhere. Everyone makes bad decisions, and no one wants to be reminded of them in a sneering tone. These told you so fights can build a wall between partners or provide a bridge of understanding, deepening the relationship if you can take the discussion beyond the sneering and sarcastic levels. If you Totally avoid told you so fights. You won't assess your relative strengths and weaknesses as a team. In these fights, you may be caught in what Alfred Adler called the inferiority-superiority complex, with one up, one down dynamics playing out between you. When you dig deeper beneath the I told you so patterns, you can see the limiting beliefs and the roots of your feelings of inferiority or superiority that play out in your relationship. You can begin to shift your limiting way to thinking, feeling, and acting to affirm yourself and each other to build a stronger relationship and a better partnership. 11. You always, you never. We tend to argue in absolutes. You always do this, you never do that. In fact, it's rarely never, and it's seldom always in the world of human behavior. Making these accusations sparks a flame of resistance and counterattack. You always, you never fights often stem from a sense of helplessness about the other meeting your needs or heeding your requests. The words always and never are called modal operators. They limit reality and possibilities and can be a trap or a self-fulfilling prophecy. They keep exceptions and change from happening. The minute we put the words always or never into the fight, it's easy to degenerate into first grade type fights. I do not. You do too. These fights easily become self-fulfilling prophecies stemming from not really believing that you can get your needs met. These fights also often build up after repeated experiences of trying to communicate upsets and not feeling listened to, or after not getting resolution, or from storing up the upsets until they burst out in a summary statement or dismal of others' behavior. 12. Perceptions. Keep secrets. Lying and broken promises are forms of deception that often trigger painful or even rageful fights. When people discover deceptions, they are furious and have the following types of arguments. Why didn't you tell me that? Your boss was considering you for a promotion. You were taking cash out of our account, cashing in our bonds, and remortgaging the house. You applied for a job that would make us move. You've been flirting on Facebook. You had lunch with your girlfriend or old boyfriend. You really don't like my meatloaf? You lied to me. You said you were at training for work, but Joe said he saw you at the golf outing. You told me that you were working late and you were out with drinks with girls. Broken promises. You guaranteed we would get a new kitchen. You told me we'd never move again. You swore you wouldn't hang out with your buddies all night. You promised me you'd check with me before you blank. You promised you'd go on a diet. You promised me you'd talk to me before you threw money out of the account. Understanding the nature of the promise, secret, or lie, and the underlying reason for the deception is the goal. The specific lie isn't the issue. Half-hearted or even heartfelt confessions. I'll be better in the future. Aren't the answers here either? What should be the focal point of the argument is trust. Why one person feels she or he can't trust the other, and what the couple can do to rebuild that trust. Unearthing the insecurities of these areas and areas of distrust, fears behind these deceptions can be painful, but are also very revealing and healing both individually and for the couple. 13. You're just like your mother/father. This often explosive argument generally cuts to the quick, especially when you have long dreaded being like your mother or father. Your partner plays on this, which is why these are fighting words. But if the argument is only a debate about who's right or whether you really like that parent, then it will go nowhere. If you're fighting about a specific behavior or attitude you exhibit that is similar to that parent, though, then you can use it to borrow burrowed down to a richer, more productive conflict. Maybe you fear that your relationship will be just like that of your parents. Maybe you are exhibiting a parental behavior that you know is destructive, but you're trying to communicate a more profound message to your partner about what's missing in your lives. Use the mother-father debate as a powerful lens into your past to see its impact on your present relationship, how your upbringing and your relationship with your parents affects you individually as a couple, and what you can do to change it. Questions that lead to deeper understanding include, what about the behavior that is like your mother or father is problematic for you? What feelings does it evoke? What would you like in its place? What is the desired behavior and outcome you want? You will be dealing with the roots of your pain and anger, and you'll be free to see and love your partner for who he or she is, not just as a projection of your parent or your past. 14. You've changed. You won't change. You've changed. Why can't you just be like you used to be? You never used to do that. Were you just faking when we were going out? Or you won't change. Why can't you just think ahead? You just don't want change. You could change if you wanted to. These fights become particularly intense when people see change as the litmus test of love. Regardless of whether your partner has changed or won't change, you feel hurt, angry, or even betrayed. If you refrain from engaging in any argument about it, the sense of betrayal will linger and can poison the relationship. Confrontation, on the other hand, can lead to resolution in these tricky fights if you negotiate the conflict responsibly. Otherwise, they may become inadvertently repetitious of you. You promised that you would change. I did not. You did too. Or they can devolve into ongoing plaintive moans of, why can't you just love me the way I am? Or subordinate stances like, it's you who needs to change. I don't want to change. I'm happy. Or, this is who I am. Deal with it. God, I've heard those so many times. Change is threatening, yet necessary for thriving relationships. 15. You embarrassed me. Embarrassment comes in many forms. I can't believe you let everyone know that the doctor told me I should lose 25 pounds. I'm so ashamed. Or, what made you think that our sex life is anybody else's business? You know how private I am. I am so humiliated. People embarrass each other all the time in relationships. They say and do things that make the other person cringe. Ignoring these shaming or embarrassing moments leads to worse problems if the underlying issue is never addressed and the shame and embarrassment continue. On the other hand, genuine inquiry about why you feel ashamed and why the other person behaves in the ways that you find so embarrassing. Thank you guys for listening to me. This is a Only You podcast, your boy Lo Jackson. On the other hand, genuine inquiry about why you feel ashamed and why the other person behaves in ways that you find so embarrassing can lead to epiphanies and empathies. Teasing out of these fights can reveal important elements of each other's values, social morals, and unconscious family rules and beliefs that govern behavior. These fights can also surface blind spots that have been compromising your success or satisfaction. Rather than just trying to manage each other's behavior, you can learn much from each other, ranging from understanding what is underneath your partner's sensitivity to becoming more willing to break the rules like your partner and express yourself even if it bothers others. Thank you guys for listening. This is your boy Lo Jackson, and right now I'm doing the Heart of the Fight, a couple's guide to 15 common fights, what they really mean, and how they can bring you closer. And you can find this book on Google Play. You can find it at Barnes & Noble. It's at Barnes & Noble for $11.99, Kindle Store for $11.99, Kobo for $11.99, and like always, I picked it up on Google Play Books for $15.55. Thank you so much for following me. Thank you for listening. Until next time.